Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
VR Junkies is a virtual reality arcade. We specialize in all things VR, from the simple phone-based headsets to cutting-edge full-body motion systems. Check us out at the Coronado Mall. VR Junkies.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili, breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real. So with the big matchup between the El Dorado Eagles and the La Cueva Bears, time to make my pick here on the Proview Rundown. I'm going to go with the El Dorado Eagles. You know, I'm going to change my decision, and I'm going to go with the La Cueva Bears. They're feeling it. All right, hey, calm down. Guys, you do it every time. This is ridiculous. You know what? I'm going to be in makeup.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
And welcome everybody to the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez. We're going to be talking a lot of high school sports, a lot of sports in general. We have Alden Ioane as our producer engineer here today, and he is our director. He gets the job done. And we bring in Ed Nunez, and Ed, busy week, a lot of high school stuff, but one of the things that a lot of people want to talk about and some people don't want to talk about is Lobo football. And the Lobos lose to the Aggies for the 2nd straight season. And, you know, some people say, oh, it's okay, it's early in the season, but I know, having been there, you know, during the first year of Bob Davie, when it was 9-22-12 written everywhere, you know, losing to the Aggies is unacceptable.
2 years in a row, you know, last year 32-31. This time I left in the 3rd quarter, started the 3rd quarter, started the 4th. They were down 30-5. And, you know, again, they came back, they went to the freshman quarterback. But I'll tell you one thing, in this rivalry, there are no moral victories, none. There's not. The other thing that concerned me, and it concerned me in the first game against Abilene Christian, was their running game. That concerned me right away because the dive is getting stuffed. You know, you mentioned too, my son mentioned this, The Terrion Gibson averaged 9 yards a pop last year. Jarrell Presley before that. So the fumble by Richard McQuarrie to start the game, he was carrying the ball very sloppily, and it's just not him. A lot of sloppy penalties. But I think the thing, and I just talked to Bob Brown this morning, and we were talking for about 15 minutes, and I think they're trying to change their idea. If you're an option team and you're passing that much, it's not good, number one.
Right.
Number two, they said Lamar Jordan had worked on his passing, looked a little bit better, but he reverted back to poor mechanics against New Mexico State. The other thing is this. Now, I'm a Lobo, okay? But Bob Davie said this in the paper, give the Aggies credit. He thinks they might win the Sun Belt. They've got a good quarterback. Jaleel Scott is a good receiver. Their timing routes were very good. They didn't put any pressure on Doug Martin. He threw for about 400 yards. Larry Rose III, after a slow first start, got 99 yards rushing. So, all the elements were there for the Aggies to win. It kills me, believe me. I'm a Lobo fan. But those are reality. And then on a short week, you have to go up to Boise State, who gave Washington State all they could. It's not probably the best week to go to a freshman quarterback. They'll roll with Lamar Jordan. But I think the thing that concerns me is those explosive plays. In a couple of instances, Scott, they're about an ankle tackle away from breaking one. They are. But those things concern me because that's your bread and butter. And if you're passing 15 or 20 times, that's not your identity. So those things do concern me.
Well, we were talking about this on Bob Brown's show on 101.7 The Team yesterday. And it's one of those things where this team in the past has always been predicated as a big play offense. And what happens when the big play isn't there? You struggle. I looked at the stats. I looked at the drives during the Abilene Christian game, and those were some of the longer drives that I've seen the Lobo team have. When Bob Davie came in, he said, we got to hold on to the ball. We got to keep the clock. And with Cole Gauchi and company, B.R. Holbrook, they did that. And then all of a sudden now, you get the big play, and you're not getting those long drives. You're getting touchdowns in 1-2 minutes, and you're getting that 65, 70-yard run. But when that 70-yard run is stuffed, then you got to produce points, and that's where the problem's going to be. It's kind of a good news, bad news thing, because for me, I think the Lobos need to actually hold on to the ball and sustain drives. But if you can get the big play, that's great. But I think, we started speculating on whether or not this team was getting disappointed and maybe almost forcing the big play, and if it's not there, they get dejected.
Interesting. Yeah, I think they've been spoiled by that offense that it's produced.
That's probably a great way to put it. Yeah.
Plays. I think that's true. But the other thing is this, and Bob and I talked about that this morning as well in our conversation. They are missing 3 senior offensive linemen that moved on, and you can tell the timing, the chemistry, maybe the strength and the power in the running game isn't the same so far. Maybe it gets better, but that's one thing that again I remember, and I've said this to you, when Mike Loxley came here, we were supposed to put the extra 0 on the scoreboard with the spread offense. That never happened. When they went to the triple option, I'm like, man, I remember when they ran the wishbone here with Rocky Long, Fred Henry, Sam Scarver. I remember that way back in the day. So I'm thinking, okay, in these eras of college, spread the ball. I didn't want to see triple option, but you know what? That's what worked. That's what got them to 2 bowl games.
Right.
So I bought into that. But now our team's stacking the line and starting to pick up on what they're doing. Are they going to have to expand their offense?
Right.
That's questions that Bob and I asked each other this morning. And they're legitimate questions.
No, and you're right about that, Ed. And here's the thing. You mentioned timing. That's one of the things that really didn't fully get into play talking-wise yesterday on the radio. They started to talk about it, and then we went on different tangents. But, yes, the timing for the linemen, that has to be there in the triple option. Exactly. And by the way, one thing that people don't mention, the blocking schemes are completely different for a drop-back passing team and the triple option.
Absolutely.
Completely different.
Absolutely.
Just ask Mike Loxley how easy it was to bring a running philosophy lineman and turn them into a pass blocking lineman where, by the way, you need about another 3 to 4 seconds to get the job done.
Totally different. You saw that when you were doing your Oñate game on Saturday. Oñate went from a run-heavy offense, all of a sudden they're running the spread, and I had asked Coach Veliz that a couple weeks ago. How's that been a change for your linemen? Because it is. The other thing is this, we're talking about all these things concerning Lobo football. Now, I'm going to ask you this because I think one of the things we haven't asked, is my namesake Eddie Nunez, the athletic director. What's his approach to football coming from the SEC? What does he see?
Yeah.
Again, remember, he came from a conference where LSU, where football was a big thing.
Yep.
Now, he's only had a chance to see one game, right? He'll see them against Boise State. Then they play at Tulsa. So what's his thoughts? Because you know what? His thoughts are going to matter as far as budgeting, coaching, offensive philosophy. Now, Bob Davies here. Now, when people start again, they started this right away. Some Lobo fans, not all of them, Bob Davies needs to go. And go where? I mean, the guy got us to 2 bowl games,
right.
9-4.
No, he's not going anywhere.
Right. So
no.
I kind of wonder what Eddie Nunez's approach to football is going to be. It's a legitimate question.
Okay, I'm leaving the show right now. You just blew my day because I thought you were Eddie Nunez.
Well, I am, but I'm not the Lobo athletic director, man. That guy makes considerably. Again, great introduction the other day at the press conference. Thought he looked great in that red blazer. Looks good with his family. So, I've gotten a lot of jokes about that, and I'm going to hear more, I'm sure. But I'm kind of interested to see what his approach, because where he comes from, football is huge. So I kind of wonder what Mr. Nunez, and it's weird for me to say that, what his thoughts are towards football.
Now, I want your opinion, Ed Nunez, not Eddie Nunez,
right.
But Ed Nunez. I want your opinion on this. Because some people are kind of sloughing it off, and even Bob Davie giving credit to Doug Martin and his team for winning over the weekend. But I guarantee you, inside Bob Davie is bubbling over with anger because you don't lose to the Aggies. In my opinion, if everyone says, oh, the Aggies should be in FCS, they shouldn't even be in Division I and all this stuff, then there's no way that you should be ever losing to them, ever in football. Basketball, upsets happen.
Right.
Football, that should never happen because that's a mano-a-mano sport. You should have the bigger players. You should have the faster players. And, oh, by the way, all I heard from people that were at the game, and I want your opinion on this too because I didn't see the game, is all I heard was they had bigger and faster players than the Lobos.
It's interesting because you know what? If you think about that, now I had a chance to interview New Mexico State Athletic Director Mario Mocha on Friday afternoon. Now, and remember, their budget and their athletic scholarships, they're not as much as, they don't get as much as, they're not playing on an even field.
Right.
They're not. So if you look at Jaleel Scott, and again, the timing patterns, things like that, Jaleel Scott could go to the NFL. I don't know about the speed, but he's got the size. There's no doubt. Larry Rose III, we mentioned him. Doug Martin in his 40s. He's a senior. He should do that. And again, those timing routes, they weren't getting pressure. So boom, boom, boom. The first play that they scored on after the fumble by, I think it was Owens actually. The perfectly executed play, little down and out, had a blocker down the street to be down the field to beat one guy, perfectly executed. So when you say that some people thought that the Aggies had better skill players at skill positions, I don't know.
People that are avid Lobo fans, no less.
I don't know that
hearing it from them, I was shocked.
I don't know if you could argue with that. I don't know if you could argue with that because concerning the game on Saturday, the Aggies had a game plan and they executed it. Now you asked this, you and I texted back and forth Saturday night. And was the Aggie defense tired and they didn't game plan for the freshman quarterback that the Lobos, they didn't game plan for him. So, the Lobos did have a furious comeback, but it came up short. But you know what? This isn't so much about the Lobos as it is about the Aggies.
Right.
And you know what? It kills me to say that. As much as you say that it's ripping Bob Davie up, it rips me up. I mean, that's one game you don't want to lose. You hate losing to the Aggies. But you know what? At the same time, Bob Davie thinks they can win the Sun Belt, and Bob Davie's been around football a lot of places, so I respect his opinion. And you got to give it to the Aggies. They came in here and played a very good game.
I have to ask you this, Ed. Were you there as a fan or were you there as media?
No, as a fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I ask that simply because talking, again, to people that are avid Lobo fans, I think the first time since I've been in this town that this problem has arose. Everyone says, oh, you lose to the Aggies in front of over 30,000 people, no one's going to show up. But all I've heard about was how bad the game experience was for fans. And I wanted to know if you saw long lines and what you saw there, because that's one thing that scares me as someone who worked for the Lobos, because that will be a reason why people don't go back, not the loss of the Aggies.
You know what, Scott? You bring up a lot of good points, man. You really do. Now, we got our tickets.
And I was kind of shy, not wanting to bring it up, but since you were there as a fan, I wanted to know what you saw as a fan in the stands.
here's the thing. Now, we got our tickets on Friday. I got ours on Friday, so, we didn't have to stand in line. There was a line to buy tickets, which is good. We had a tailgate right there by Cesar Chavez, Avenida Cesar Chavez, right by the pit. Had a great time. I saw long lines getting into the game, people being, searched, and it's going to take a while. We have to understand that.
Right.
People should understand that. If you're going to a game, and that's,
that's not on UNM.
Right. If you're a fan, that's the way it's going to be.
You need to expect that
But
time.
there was long concession lines, and I'm guessing, again, you don't. Here's what I told Bob this morning too. You got 32,000 out there. You and I speculated if they can get to 6 wins this year. I sure hope so. That would mean they're probably back in the New Mexico Bowl. And hey, considering they're all things considered, who in the heck do we think, everybody's saying we need to get to a better bowl, maybe.
Right.
But you know what? Bob and I had several discussions going in other directions, which I won't share right now. But I think as a fan, what happened, Scott, is that the Aggies took us out of the fans out of the game quick. Right. There wasn't, some guy said this on the show yesterday, on Bob's show, and I know you heard it. Well, the fans weren't cheering. Well, man, Bob said it too. What do you want them to do?
Right.
When you're losing 30-5, there's not much to cheer about.
Right.
So the Aggies were cheering. There's a lot of Aggie fans. They cheer. So, as a fan, the experience wasn't bad for me, but remember, I partook of food outside the stadium. I didn't eat inside, but there was long lines at the half.
Yeah.
So those things happen when you have 32. If you're a football fan, you know what you're going to do? You're going to suck it up and you're going to enjoy it, man.
No, I know. Trust me. I've been to Dodger games where there were long lines.
Right.
I've been to Ram games back in the day. The L.A. Raiders when they were in L.A. That's part of the USC games. I mean, you go and you wait in line. That's part of the that's part of the thing.
Part of the
but
ambiance,
I mean,
man.
when you're not used to it, and you get all these people, I guess. People love to complain, I guess.
You know what? It drives me crazy. Bob and I talked about that this morning, and I'm part of the issue sometimes. But look, I told you this. I'm a Lobo fan going back to Rudy Feldman, Bill Mott, Joe Morrison, Jolie Dunn, Dennis Francione, all of them, Mike Shepard.
Right.
Even when I was 2 years at Eastern New Mexico, there wasn't a time that I have not followed Lobo football. There'll never be a time that I'm not a fan. So I've been through the thick and the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've seen it all. And you know what? Even though they lost Saturday night, you should have heard my son. My son probably talked me off the cliff more than anybody. He's like, Dad, you know what? I feel good about going up to Thursday. And I'm like, son, why? Why do you feel good? Right. And he's the eternal. He reminds me so much of me at that age, because when my teams lost, I'd always find a reason to somewhat be optimistic, even if there was no reason for optimism at all.
Right.
So we'll see.
Right. Going to play devil's advocate here before we go to a break. In terms of Bob Davies' press conference yesterday, and it happened early because it's a Thursday game, he gave praise to the Aggies. Well, a year ago, when Boise State came in here and basically tore the doors off of, at that time, University Stadium, sat their quarterback out in the third quarter, and the Lobos scored some late touchdowns. Bob Davie went on afterwards and talked about how proud he was on how the team came back. Well, they took their quarterback out at halftime,
right.
So I don't know if that's really a comeback or them taking the foot off the gas. This time everyone talks about, and again, I didn't see the whole game. I only saw the ESPN reports on the ticker on what was going on. But I've heard from people who are stout Lobo fans. I mean, they're donors, and they're telling me how these, how the Aggies were dominating. And then all of a sudden the fourth quarter, like you and I were talking about, happens. So at what point is it a moral victory? There's no moral victories, but I mean, at what point do you get concerned, the fact that the loss even happened? Because in my opinion, again, football, if you're the superior team, you should never lose to an inferior team.
I think I was concerned after the first game, even though they beat Abilene Christian 38-14. There were some things in that game that concerned me, and I told my son this right away. The dive, the running game. Yes, they threw for a little bit more, some more yards. That's not what they do. A perfect Lobo game is, how many rushes, 35, 40 rushes, and maybe 5 to 7 passes.
Right.
Perfect Lobo game.
Right.
When you're throwing more than that, you've got a problem.
Right.
So I saw problems right away in the first game against Abilene Christian as far as their balance offensively.
Right.
So, I was concerned. I'm still concerned. That doesn't mean that Thursday night my son and I are not going to be glued to the TV.
Right.
Of course, we're going to be right in front of it.
And finally, I guess there's a little hope. You hate to see hope like this, but Brett Rippon, the son of Mark Rippon, former NFL quarterback, injured. Not sure if he's going to play, and they're losing one of the receivers for the season also. Although he's not one of their bigger receivers, still was supposed to be a receiver with promise, so maybe Lobo's going into the blue turf at the right time.
Well, Rippon had some ribs. You know, he got hit in the late in the game and didn't come back. I think after the third quarter, he was on the sidelines, and yeah, you know, his dad was a fine quarterback for the Washington Redskins, Super Bowl winner. But we'll have to see again. You're right. You don't want anybody to get hurt, but maybe the Lobos coming into that game, and it's a short week to game plan, Scott. That's
right.
Another thing. So, you know, how do they fix their running game in 2 or 3 days?
Right.
You know, so maybe there's the pitch to Griffin in the fourth quarter. That was a very well-designed, creative, well-executed play that they scored on. So they're going to have to think, you know, gimmicks aren't going to win games, Scott. Gadgets
in this
don't win games.
game is early enough in the season where you know the Boise State's been working on the option all off season.
Sure. So you know what?
It's not like a later in the year game where it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. They've had this game on their radar.
I still think there's some routes that Delane Hart-Johnson, the big junior receiver, you know what? He had a pass at the goal line he should have caught. He should have caught that. And I'm not blaming him for the whole game. That might have changed momentum. You know, look, as a junior, the size of this, you see the size of this kid? This kid is NFL size.
Yep.
If you want to go to the league, those are the catches you got to make.
Right.
Not blaming him, okay? Later in the year, maybe he comes up with some plays against Boise State. I'm sure he's replayed that in his mind even today, right now.
Yeah.
So he's got to come up with those.
We will take a break right now, but first we're going to have the Dream Style Plays of the Week and then come back with more on the Sports Desk.
Of y'all, he missed it. First attempt, still has it. Fires it in, Vial from the angle. How'd he do it? It doesn't matter. It's in the back of the net.
Yep. Speaking of urgency, there goes Kanye Jones. He could be gone. Jones at the 50. One man to try to catch up to him. He's not going to do it. Kanye Jones scores. Touchdown. Zandia, 80 yards.
Through air, double pass. Austin Heiss fires wide open. It's Derek Reyes, and he's going to score. Touchdown.
Trent will kick off. Kick his field is at the 8-yard line. Mahoney's got some room.
Oh my
One man to beat. Mahoney might be gone to the house. Don't see anyone catching him. Wow. Mahoney is gone. Touchdown. Just like that. After El Dorado scores, Mayfield comes and strikes right back, Roger.
In overtime for the win. Caleb Balin. He's in. Touchdown. And the Rams have won it. What a big time game tonight. Caleb Balin.
First down and more. 40, 35, 30, 25, 20. Wow. Redmond will score. Redmond, Troy, 47-yard touchdown run. And there goes Kanye Jones. This could make him more. He is off to the races. One man to beat, and he's not going to catch him. Touchdown, Sandia.
He ran so hard and so violently, he ran out of his shoes, Scott.
Start the party off in the first quarter. Here's the handoff to Milton. Look out. Milton's off to the races. Shot out of a cannon, and he's going to score. Touchdown.
How about the way he accelerated when he saw pursuit?
School in Arizona. Ball in the back of the net. Finally. That set piece opportunity.
I think both our defense and offense have stepped up. Oh, wow. They got to Schreier there. I don't know how Oh, he got that kickoff. Feel it at the midfield stripe. There's a penalty marker. Werner's off to the races. Gotta be stop him here. He's got a touchdown. We'll have to check the laundry.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Dave & Buster's is your destination for fun. Eat delicious chef-crafted food. Try sizzling favorites and new creations from our talented chefs. Drink the coolest cocktail creations. Play the hottest new games to win awesome prizes. And watch all the games in the best sports bar ever. Only at Dave & Buster's.
Looking for some exhilarating fun? It's at All Out Zone. All Out Zone showcases Nerf dart tag games from team elimination battles to human versus zombies, pitting two teams against each other in fun, organized chaos with trained referees, music, and a full arsenal of Nerf blasters. You need team parties, birthday parties. We can customize the party to fit your needs. Visit us at the Coronado Mall. Give us a call, 505-444-6964. All Out Zone.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
What do these interns even do on their break, man?
I don't even know. It's probably way too crazy.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
And we are back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti, joined by Ed Nunez. Alden Iowani, our fine director, keeping us busy here. And we're going to look at last week's results, the week that it was last week. Hard to believe it was already week number 3.
You know what, at Wilson Stadium, there was just that tinge of fall in the air. So, yes, you're right. I cannot believe it's already week 3.
So let's look at last week's schedule. We will go with the week 3 schedule here. And we're waiting for that to come on the screen here, and there we go. And you look at Volcano Vista over West Mesa. That was the Thursday game. Manzano, Los Lunas, El Dorado, La Cueva, and Manal, all winners, as Manal won 26-20. So that was a big victory for them.
Yeah, no, it really was. And you look at the, I had the Mayfield El Dorado game, and I'm sure we'll recap that later. So there were some, Los Lunas keeps rolling. Even without Amari Samuels, they're still rolling and playing very well. We were kind of wondering if Jordan Bird was going to be dinged up for that game against Cibola. It was actually Andrew Erickson. We'll go into that later too. But I read these things in the paper. I can't help but make little comments. And then West Mesa thought that was going to be a big kind of a test game for them. And Volcano Vista and Blazier, their quarterback, I really like that kid. They took it pretty put it to the Mustangs pretty good.
Let's go to more games last week on Friday, and Rio Rancho over Clovis in overtime. It was Artesia getting it all against Valencia. Berlin over Farmington in overtime. Moriarty beating St. Mike's, and Academy over Bernalillo. And the games on Saturday. A couple of good ones on Saturday. A shootout, Sandia and Oñate on Saturday. So that was one of the major surprises, I guess, if you did, is that game turned out being a lot closer. As we'll look at Saturday's action here. And you see there, St. Pius over Hope. Cleveland goes down the road and beats Las Cruces. One of the stories that wasn't told until I read the Las Cruces paper, Brandon Baeza and Peyton Ball, both injured in the first half, did not return.
Yes, and did that, of course, that I think Molina had to go to quarterback. I'm not sure, but that, you know, and the other thing about Cleveland is this: they had just come off probably their worst defeat in years when La Cueva beat them pretty good. You know, so again, that tells you about the resiliency of the Storm in their program. They went down to Las Cruces, and I think you and I both agree, Las Cruces, with their offensive line and the way they're coached, that's one of the best teams in the state. So give it to the Storm. A lot of people probably were throwing dirt on them, saying they're done.
Right.
They go down to Las Cruces, and that is a big road victory for Cleveland.
How about Valley? I'm sure Judge Chavez tired that Larry gets all the headlines, so he figured, hey, I better get a win, right?
They did a great job. You know, they really did, and you're probably right. I mean, the Chavez brothers have been here. Jerry, Judge, Larry, you know, I know them all. They've been here for several. They've made their living here in Albuquerque. So, congratulations to Judge Chavez on his first victory of the year.
Let's take a look now at the highlights. Rio Rancho and Clovis, and you look at the game there, 34-31 in overtime, and this one was a lot more exciting than people thought. It was a game where you look at the total offense, 303 to 223. It was not one of the better offensive games for Rio Rancho, but their defense really kept Clovis down on yardage. You never really got a sense that Clovis was going to win this game, but they were still in there at the end.
A late interception and a beautiful play by Rio Rancho defensive back, and Clovis was driving and moving, and I think after the game, Clovis head coach Cal Fullerton lamented the chance that they had to win, but you've got to give it to them. They played them pretty well. You know, if you look at Logan Barrier, and I got to tell you this, Scott, he's got a very long arm motion. I was watching him, and very, very unique motion, very strange throwing motion. But he's effective. You know, he's the younger brother of Easton Barrera, and his father is the offensive coordinator. And as I said, Rio Rancho always has a great offensive blueprint for any game they play. There's some highlights there.
And there's the highlights now as you look at the first touchdown as Aaron Heredia, a 34-yard pass from Brant Davis, and a nice pass over the middle as that was Derek Reyes. And then watch this double pass, and Reyes wide open downfield.
Nobody within, well, 15 yards of him.
That was a great play as that would get Rio Rancho the lead, but then another big play here, the run for Demarius Milton, 64 yards, and at that point, Clovis was on top.
Up and down game, and Milton just one of the latest of great backs Clovis has had.
Then Seth Lopez comes back, little flare pass, and he was off to the races.
Yeah, like I said, it was just give and take and back and forth, and really a great football game.
That was a 47-yarder for the touchdown, and then it was Reyes from Barrera, and this in traffic, what a pass.
Right between two Clovis defenders, and some people would say that was quite a risky throw, but Barrera knows how to put the money on the ball on money right there.
They got the two-point conversion, and then Barrera threw a pick right there, and you know that was one of the things that kind of opened a lot of people's eyes was Barrera getting picked.
Well, he threw off his back foot on that one, Scott, so no surprise.
This looked more like it as Reyes broke free, and he would get into the end zone for the touchdown. And you know Reyes was on that day.
Yes, he was. You know, they used him and another basketball player, Joel Male, tight ends, I believe. They're the tight ends.
Big stop for Clovis there, and then it was Barrera throwing a pick, and this would lead to the go-ahead touchdown.
So that's two picks for Barrera, and you know people think that you know they can get to him if you get pressure on him.
Davis threw a big pass over the middle, and they almost got it in for the touchdown, but that would lead to a Davis keeper. And at first, that was a play that was called back for encroachment, and it looked like it was going to be a touchdown for the Rio Rancho Rams on the lost play there for Clovis, as Kalen Balon was onto the races, but Brant Davis on the touchdown. But then Barrera quickly going back to work. It was 28-25, and Barrera was sacked, and it looked like for a while there that maybe Clovis was going to be able to hold him off. But then things like this happened. They lost the exchange. Back-to-back first down plays. They got back-to-back fumbles. And, oh, by the way, this guy got the fumble recovery. And then there was a big pick, and then it would happen again. And Keyshawn Banks would come up with the fumble recovery again, as this time they just simply stripped the ball and got the ball.
Big recoveries by the Rams, because you know what? The Wildcats didn't turn any of those turnovers from Barrera, maybe one of them into points. And here's the field goal.
Yeah, McPherson with the field goal. This would tie the game and send it to overtime, and Clovis would have an opportunity as they got a big play, and you were thinking, oh, maybe with less than a minute, maybe they could get into field goal range, but then Davis would be picked, and that would set up the overtime. Beautiful pick there.
To tell you what, he had a step on him, but I don't know that you can blame the quarterback. The defender just made a great play.
This was a field goal that would put them up, them being Clovis, but then Kalen Balon, a simple run, and that was the ball game.
Right there off left guard, big hole for Balon, and he's one of their big players at Rio Rancho, and they extended their winning streak to 16 games.
So that was the final score there. Let's go to slide 5A now, which will have the highlights of Sandia Oñate. And Sandia improving to 3-0. I'll tell you what, Kaide Jones, seeing him in person, he may not be as fast as Jordan Burr, but he might be equally as good.
Well, look, 230 yards rushing for Jones, and he got hurt last year. And when he got hurt, Sandia's offense hurt with him. They're 3-0. They put up 59 points, and I'll tell you, I'm anxious to see. I think they have a big game this week to see how they perform. Again, Oñate with a new coach, new offensive scheme. They still look how many yards they put up, though. 500 yards.
Yeah, and Deontay Bernard, 2 picks and 2 touchdown receptions, and this was a touchdown, and it was an open play.
Wide open, by the way.
Yeah, wide open.
Must have been a busted coverage.
It was one of those situations where everyone was napping, as Oñate had come up with a big play earlier, but not on that time, as that was a big touchdown reception. And this is one of Kaide Jones' runs, and he can get to the outside as quickly as anybody.
Well, I'll tell you what, once he's got a crease, see you later.
I mean, very, very impressive for him, and I'll tell you what, the offense for Sandia just kept rolling. But speaking of offense, that new spread offense for Oñate was doing pretty good in this game.
Oh, look at Monroe Young, the second fastest, according to Roger Holian.
I like watching him play. He might be the second best receiver in the state behind Baeza.
Monroe Young's got a lot of skill.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of people looking at him on the next level, that's for sure. And this is another Kaide Jones run, and they kept trying to chase the guy wearing number 1.
And can catch him all day long, 230 yards on 15 carries. What an average that is.
Yeah, absolutely. That first touchdown, by the way, was Elijah Morris, who was wide open. But there was the scoring, 59-35. Sandia finally pulled away, but over 1,000 yards in total offense between the two teams.
I'll tell you, that's an entertaining game. I know you did that game with Duke City Gladiator coach Bramante, and
yeah, we had fun.
Yeah, you know what?
He's a fun game to watch.
Well, he's always got these little cracks too. Between he makes me laugh. So he's an entertaining guy.
Finally got a close game to watch too. So that was kind of 2 actually, as that Rio Rancho game was closer than anyone thought it would be. And we will take a break now and talk more. We'll have the coaches poll out of the break on the Sports Desk.
Hey everyone, Adam Deal here with Proview Networks. Extreme Clean is a proud sponsor and supporter of Proview Networks and all high school sports athletics. Owner Mike McLean and Extreme Clean specialize in carpet cleaning for apartment, realty, business, and residential clients. With over 20 years experience, attention to detail and quality customer service matters. For more information, give them a call, 505-221-6440, Extreme Clean. Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today.
Our interns here at Proview Sports Network get pretty competitive. Rivalries are real. All day with you two, jeez.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's off Academy and in Nob Hill. Garden Sort's Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
You know, we try to let all of our interns do everything here at Proview Sports Network. Sometimes it just doesn't pan out. Hey everybody, welcome to the Proview Rundown. I'm Adam Deal. What a big week in football, week 3. As you all know, cut. Come on, this Eagle, jeez.
Football's back right here on Proview Sports Network. All the best rivalries, all the best action, every game on Proview Sports Network, Comcast 26, and the game of the week on My 50 TV.
Garden Sort's Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
And we're back here on the Sports Desk. I'm Scott Galletti along with Ed Nunez, Alden Iowani, our director. Time now to talk a little bit about the coaches' polls as we get the coaches' polls each week. And kind of interesting, 3A not so much interesting as it's about the way that we thought it would be. Capitan, Eunice, Estancia, Santa Rosa, and Dexter. We go to 4A here, and you got Portales, followed by Robertson, Moriarty, Taos, and St. Mike's. Really no surprises yet.
Well, I'm looking at Moriarty. They've been up at the top of the 4A class for years, and as the season starts, they're right back up there again.
Let's look at 5A now, and 5A at the top, you have Artesia. They have one loss, but that was obviously to a very, very good team. Los Lunas, Belen, Roswell, and Farmington, they round out the top 5. St. Pius up to number 7 now.
A little surprising. You know, they played well. Dave Montoya, the new coach, is out there for the retired San Juan Mendoza, but lost a lot. They still have Ryan McGaha, the receiver, out there. But when you lose to Drew Ortiz and the players that they lost from their offense, and again, the class that they had last year, really, that's a once in about 20-year class. So give the Spartans credit. They're still there at number 7.
Let's look at 6A now. This is where it's kind of surprising. You got Rio Rancho, La Cueva, Manzano. No surprises, but Cleveland's number 5, Las Cruces is number 4 when Cleveland just beat them.
That is interesting. That's very interesting. Some might say, and they will, well, and Brandon Baeza, you know what?
Brandon Baeza.
Yeah. Okay, so people are going to say,
that's a
well,
huge loss.
Gosh, you know what? I remember watching him against Valley last year. That kid is so strong. I guess he wrestles too. So I remember a couple of guys trying to wrestle him down. He just shook him off, and he's got speed. So people might say, well, you beat him, but they didn't have this guy or this guy. To me, it's like, hey, I don't care. Cleveland went on the road, Field of Dreams, and beat them there.
Clovis earned some kudos with their loss to Rio Rancho. They are number 6. El Dorado up to number 7.
You know what? I'm going to say this about El Dorado. We covered them Friday night against Mayfield. I really like their quarterback, Gabe Smith, Colin Bars, Resma Troy. They have some playmakers in that offense. Troy Duran. They have some playmakers. I love their multiple looks, and they know huddle. So they put a lot of defensive pressure on the other side. The thing they have to clean up is their defense. And Charlie Dotson said before the game, we talked to him, he said they kind of changed some schemes, putting the safety up a little bit, little nicks here and there. But if they don't change that defense a little bit, the offense can compete with just about anybody. They really can. Now, I'm sorry, just let me finish.
Go ahead.
What they don't have is that speed scat back. Resma Troy is good, but he's not explosive speed. But what they have at the wideouts, I really like.
That team at the bottom, Sandia, they're going to face off against the Trisco. That's another team. They could score with the best of them. The defense might be the biggest question.
Look at Sandia, 59 points last week. So, Trisco was off. Now, we talked about a Trisco as well, and they've had a full week to prepare for Sandia, and we know what a Trisco is going to do. You have to be very disciplined and play your gaps when you're playing the Jaguars. So, that, you know what, Scott? That could be a very interesting game.
Take a look at the standings now in 6A. We're going to go to District 1 first, and really no surprise except for maybe Cleveland being 2-1, as a lot of people thought that they were going to go down and lose to Las Cruces. That tells you how good Cleveland is.
I'll tell you what, it kind of reminds me of Las Cruces Mayfield. They came up here, and Coach Bradley had, should have seen his hat, runner-up, state runner-ups. They were missing 11 starters. But Coach Bradley put together a game plan, kept it close. But the one I was interested in was the way they did their exercises and cadence on the field, very disciplined. So when you look at Cleveland with Coach Ridenour, how good are they? How good has that program been for the last 3 years? So they, people might be surprised that they went down to Las Cruces and won. I guarantee you, Coach Ridenour is not surprised at all.
No, not at all. And not a lot of folks up here are surprised. But you talk to people down south, they're going to be surprised that happened. District 2 looks as follows. You got La Cueva, Manzano, Sandia, all 3-0. Clovis, El Dorado, 2-1. This is shaping up to be a really strong district.
I don't see, when I look at the standings here, I don't see a weak sister amongst them. I don't.
No.
I don't. There's not an easy out here. There really isn't. Now, La Cueva going down to Centennial and smashing the Hawks 42-4. Centennial's not a bad team. And, again, with Coach Ocampo, they're always known to, a very respected program. But that defense of La Cueva, jeez, man, they hit. They hit, and they take things personally. If you get yards against them, they want to make sure the next play you don't get any.
District 3 goes as follows. And you got Las Cruces still at the top at 2-1, along with Hobbs, Centennial, Carlsbad, Gadsden, all 1-2. And then look at the team at the bottom. Mayfield.
Well, again, Coach Bradley mentioned that they've had a lot of injuries. He didn't make any excuses, but they did the best they could. I still think they have some talent out there, although they did lose their running back, Savion Russell, in the first half against El Dorado, and that's going to hurt because Savion Russell has got some edge, speed, some burst. So they're, again, dealing with a lot of injuries. Coach Bradley's got a long way up, but Mayfield's a very respected, proud program. So if anyone thinks they're just going to go in there and get an automatic win, that's not going to happen.
District 4, this is going to be a fun district. A lot of these teams had the week off, but West Mesa, they're 2-1 now. Academy, Albuquerque, 1-1. Then you got Valley and Highland. And Rio Grande rounding out, Valley getting their first victory.
And that helps Judge Chavez. Highland and Rio Grande, I think we're both off. And they're going to struggle. We mentioned Highland and Rio Grande don't have the numbers. That district should come down and Albuquerque High's got, they lost a lot from last year. I think it should come down to Trisco West Mesa like it did last year. So we'll see.
We'll take a break, and we will come up with the schedules. We got the volleyball polls coming up. We got a lot of things to talk about, and it comes up after the break on the Sports Desk.
Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog! Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
VR Junkies is a virtual reality arcade. We specialize in all things VR, from the simple phone-based headsets to cutting-edge full-body motion systems. Check us out at the Coronado Mall. VR Junkies.
Folks, there's no other way but to be all in. Either he's Lord of all or he is not Lord at all. And you can experience the real and authentic, true life change that only God can provide to humanity. See, when we truly encounter Jesus and purpose to know him and follow his teachings, hashtag life change will occur.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a #1. Cover it with green stuff, 1 scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Back here on the Sports Desk, I'm Scott Coletti along with Ed Nunez. We are joined now by Steve Davis. And Steve, a busy weekend. We had the Cherry and Silver Home Show out at the Pit, brought to you by Dreamstyle Remodeling, and now a big week coming up.
Well, the Dreamstyle Arena, the Pit. Make sure I say that correctly. And it was fun to see Larry Chavez get down on the pit and shoot free throws, and it was his thing, and it was just fun. And you know, we did a lot of sports that weekend.
I wanted you to bring your referee suit, but you wouldn't. So.
You know what? I like that. You know what? I was Ed Nunez. Oh, by the way, Ed, you know, I know you've been in a busy schedule, been at the Lobo deal. Congratulations. You know, I didn't know you would come. I didn't know you would come in and then hang out with us anymore. But that's why I thought you left last week.
He didn't even bring his red blazer today.
You can bring in your red deal.
That guy sports the red blazer much better than me. Maybe we'll be lucky to get the real Eddie Nunez in here one day.
Right. Hopefully we will get Eddie
Maybe you guys can go head to head and then and be talking to Mirror this. I wanted to.
That'd be funny. Yeah.
So when I read the newspaper, I was going, man, you've been hiding out on me, man. You've been working behind the scenes.
My wife and I would love to have that $300,000 a year. We'd love to have that.
Take a quick look at the schedules here in week number 4 for football, as we'll run through those very quickly here. And the first part of the schedule happens on Thursday. La Cueva, West Mesa, Belen at Rio Grande, at Milne. Then you got Dora Manol, Albuquerque, El Dorado, Sandia, Trisco, Cibola, Carlsbad. We go to the rest of Friday games in our second slide. And Centennial, Cleveland. That'll be a very interesting game, Steve.
Well, I tell you what, Cleveland's, what they did surprised me, and I'm sure you guys talked about it earlier. I thought they were going to go get beat by Las Cruces. You know, that's why they play football, and that's why Reitenauer has won some state champions, and he's been undefeated. So, congratulations to Cleveland. Centennial trying to find themselves. I mean, I think this is like almost the third weekend they've been to Albuquerque, if I'm correct.
And the final part of the schedule for Saturday, you got Alamogordo, St. Pius, Valley, Las Cruces at the Field of Dreams, and Rio Rancho. A rare night game on a Saturday against Oñate.
Well, they go down to the Field of Dreams, and after that victory last week, they're playing an 0-3 Oñate team, still looking for their first victory. As we mentioned, new coach, new offensive system. So the Rams, I think they should take care of business pretty easily there.
Very quickly, a little more in depth on Cleveland Centennial, as this will be the game that we're previewing, and it is Centennial 1-2 against Cleveland 2-1. And one of the things, Lance Frost, one of their quarterbacks is Bartlett and Frost. They kind of alternate, and when Frost is not throwing the passes, he's getting them, but he got injured in the second quarter. His status unknown. We had them against Manzano a couple weeks ago, and you're right, that's what they do. Bartlett threw a 54-yard touchdown pass in that game to Lance Frost. They also have a pretty good running back in David Gomez, the junior. So they do have some offensive weapons, but like Steve said, they're still struggling. And look who they've had to play. Yeah. We mentioned that, Scott, when you had the schedules up earlier. That's a murderer's row, man. Let's roll now as we will go through the volleyball coaches poll really quickly here before we close out the show. Sandia Prep, Robertson, Portales, St. Mike's, Moriarty. That is 4A. Look at 5A now, and 5A has Santa Teresa, number 5, Artesia 4, Roswell, Las Lunas, and St. Pius. And then you got 6A. And 6A, you got Centennial still number 1, La Cueva, Sandia, Cleveland, and Las Cruces. Those are the top 5. Steve, I know you want to talk about the schedule coming up this week.
Well, we have La Cueva playing Cleveland tonight, and that's in soccer, and then we have Volcano Vista and St. Pius. I'm in volleyball. That's very, very good matches. And it'll be the first time I get to go out and see them live and watch them play, so it's going to be fun for me. Should be fun. Anything else coming up on the schedule that you'd like to talk about? Well, truthfully, it's the My 50 games, Sandia and Trisco Heritage. I think Sandia's surprising everybody. They're 3-0, and I think I heard Ed talking about the scoring points, and they're getting better every week. I had a great conversation with Barker at the beginning of the year, and they better be good because their district's got 4 other teams in the top 10, and I think they're an underrated team that can make a big difference in it. But in the Trisco Heritage, Pat Johnson speaks for himself. I mean, he wins the district. He wants to make a run in the state tournament this year. Yeah, no, Patrick Johnson's fired up for this game coming up on Friday, and I know Coach Barker will be fired up as well. But Johnson's team had a week to take off and kind of watch what Sandia did, and he's happy with what he's getting, and he feels that his team can take the clock and control the pace and everything. But when you got DJ Hayden running on the inside and you got Kaide Jones on the outside for Sandia, that's tough. Well, and you look at Trisco Heritage, they played some tough teams. I mean, back to the schedule, so they're for real. And Sandia, it's going to be a good test. It's going to be that's why it's the game of the week, and it's a My 50 game of the week. And these are 2 teams that want to compete for that blue trophy. Final 30 seconds. Well, I tell you, it's I looked at our schedule last week, and it just amazes me. I'm looking at it here, I'm just gonna go real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games.
That's a light week.
Light week, and that doesn't include our shows and things.
No, it doesn't.
We're producing, so
exactly.
Very impressive. But guess what?
It's a busy week.
We don't even reach probably a tenth of what's going on in the state of New Mexico.
Exactly. Well, Steve, thanks for coming on. We'll talk to you next week. And for Ed Nunez, for Old Neowani and the whole crew, I'm Scott Coletti. We'll talk to you next week on the Sports Desk.